Welcome to the Jinx Shifters AOSC 10 pre-race show. And, of course, we will be reviewing round number 4 last week at Phillip Island and see what's going to happen at round number 5. Of course, big thanks to our sponsors, Jinx Shifters, AJ Insurance Services, simrigs.com, Sydney Computers, Sixth Gear Imagery, Race Art Australia, Track Cams for Gourmets. And, of course, if you haven't already, make sure you get to the YouTube channel, AOSC TV, and click that subscribe button. Make sure you get that one done. But it's all about round number 4 to kick things off here tonight. Welcome to Daniel Leat and Matthew Norry, mate, for joining us again and putting this show together.
Yeah, g'day, Matt. Great to be back. And to all the viewers, great to have you back for another pre-race show.
And, Norry, you've had another big week going through the race that was at Phillip Island.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a massive race at Phillip Island. We lost you for a bit of it, but it was fun nevertheless. And there was a few battles mid-pack, which were fun to watch.
Yeah, well, luckily everyone got to listen to you guys for a change instead of just me because we know I like to get loud and proud and take over. But all right, let's go through our top 10 from Phillip Island. Of course, James Scott, we need to stop saying that name, dominated once again, taking out the win. Corey Shepherd in second. Adam Briggs made it to third. Andrew Dyson in fourth. Brian Borg made it in the top 5 there in 5th position. Then it was Damien Johnston, Kyle Stokes, Tom Freer, Jordan Ross, and Brett Loxton rounding out the top 10. And I suppose we've got to talk about some of these results because there was a lot going on throughout the race.
Absolutely. Plenty going on all up and down throughout the field. Qualifying, we had our first top 10 shootout, which brought on some really big surprises, not only at the front of the field, but some of the guys that started well down the order from that one. And then the racing itself, absolute standout.
Yeah, Norrie, there were some big movers, and one of the things we spoke about last week in the top 10 was just because you make the top 10 shootout, you do get a lap. You know where everyone else is. You know what you've got to do to stay in the top 10. But if you don't put a lap in that's a top 10 time, you could end up further down the field, and that happened to a couple of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I made reference to it in the broadcast that if you don't get that time in that is better than that time that Brett Loxton already set in P10 or P11, as it turned out to be, you were going to end up P nowhere, and a couple of competitors really did lose out. I mean, you had Stovall ending up 41st. That was the biggest loser of them all. And then you had Kyle Stokes back in 13th. That wasn't where he should have been. So some guys really needed to take this shootout and go a bit further with it.
And another guy there that actually made it in the top 10 was Michael Schreier, but unfortunately some work commitments. He had to leave right early, so didn't get to go in the top 10.
Yeah, it was a little unfortunate for him not getting the start, and obviously some real-life commitments getting in the way for that. But it did allow another driver to jump in there and still give us a top 10 shootout. And it's like, as Norrie says, some great efforts there. I think we saw Brett Loxton prior to that top 10 begin, qualified P1, and actually managed to still get inside the top 8 once it had all finished. So really good, showing that you don't always have to make that top 10 to get yourself a fantastic starting point.
It does help, though, and a couple of guys that really benefited from the top 10 shootout. Tom Freer ended up in 4th. Adam Briggs was another one, Norrie. He went up all the way up to 3rd, and he actually qualified 7th in the pre-qualifying.
Yeah, fantastic move from Adam Briggs. I mean, all he did was get a good lap down, and that's all he needed to do because that was it. And, yeah, he was in there.
It's funny because in the post-race interview, James Scott said this wasn't his best track, yet he pre-qualified number 1. He took the top 10 shootout and pretty much led effectively the whole race. So it dominated once again in the AOSC Commodore. So it'll be interesting to watch to see if he can back that up again this week. It was some fantastic racing throughout the field. We saw lots of incidents happen. We're going to get to that, well, a bit later in the show. But first off, let's head to our Sydney Computers photo finish of the round. And, of course, this week it is between position 10 of Brett Loxton and Stephen Varga in 11, with only a few thousandths of a second between them over the finish line. This is how close it was. Let's check out the replay. Well, it wasn't sideways on the grass next to each other. It wasn't an incident as they crossed the line. But I tell you what, at 200-odd kilometres an hour, there was absolutely nothing in it. You see Brett Loxton holding onto the steering wheel coming out of that final corner. Stephen Varga trying everything he can. And you notice just in front was Freer and Ross as well, who were actually in a little bit of a battle there with Loxton for the last few laps and only managed to get through on the final lap. So that was how it all went right down to the end. What exciting finish it was for those guys. I'm sure they had a great time, and Loxton ends up 10 in that one. Let's head over, though, because out of everything that happens, there's always going to be some incidents which race control need to take care of. Now, let's go through a couple of those, Dan. I mean, anything really stand out to you there?
Not a huge amount. We do have a few guys that have picked up some incidents along the way. Probably a lot of it was really redressed, so guys making some issues trying to get back through and sort them out. So that has saved quite a few drivers from some big ones. The biggest offenders so far, Neil Pearson picked up 10 points along with a drive-through penalty following the contact that he had, along with Rob Bowden as well. And we saw Rob involved in quite a few incidents along the event. So a few guys having a bit of an awkward affair out there, but there's still plenty more races in the championship for them. They haven't accrued enough that's going to see them with any major penalties going forward at this point in time.
No, I can't see anything major happening there. And once we sort of get to a point in the championship where we can see maybe some impacts, we know once you get 40 incident points there with your license, you could lose a round. So when we get close to that, we'll start checking in and see how those points are going. But it does lead us into this, which is the AJ Insurance Services impact of the round. And this week, it was two teammates, the Jinx Shifters boys. I mean, we can't thank them enough for being part of AOSC 10, but the teammates had to make sure they got on the AJ Insurance Services impact of the round by really taking each other out. Unfortunately, let's have a look exactly what happened. The AJ Insurance Services impact of the round was the teammates. Like we said, guys, it was Henry King and teammate Aaron Gilbert in the Jinx Shifters cars coming together. Just a bit of talent may have run out there, Dan.
Yeah, a little bit of a lazy incident down into Honda Hairpin. I mean, we saw quite a few incidents in that spot there, but you could see for Henry there, kind of a little bit balked by the car in front, made the run to try and get towards the braking line, and unfortunately unloads his teammate, and off she went and took some cars out a little bit further up in front. So not a great look to see the two team cars get in. And, as any race manager will tell you, you do not want to knock doors with your team car.
Yeah, Norry, that would have been out of control there, didn't it? A few innocent people in the background taken out as well.
Yeah, I think it was Matty Bauer that was further up in the field that just got rotated. He's just sitting in the corner, minding his own business, and all of a sudden he's got Aaron Gilbert in his side door. So not fun, not happy, and like Dan said, it's just lazy incident. We've seen that happen many times with cars on the grass, but this one was just purely cars on the road running out of talent.
Yeah, and that was after the safety car restart. Safety car came out lap 17, did a couple of laps, and that's what happens when you bunch the field up. Lots of things can happen. But I tell you what, let's go through where everyone is now sitting in the series after 4 rounds. And James Scott sitting at the top of the table there with 1,240 points. And it's Corey Shepherd on 1,150. Then we go back to Tom Freer remaining in third position on 1,020 points. Brian Borg is still in fourth on 960, but closing the gap is Andrew Dyson, who's now on 884 points. Then it goes Jordan Ross, Adam Briggs, Kyle Stokes, Bailey Frid still in the top 10, and Michael Taliancic is rounds out our top 10 guys in the series points so far. And Michael wasn't here this week, Dan, so that's great to see that he could hold on to that position.
Well, yeah, I mean, coming into the round, started in 6th position, so didn't make the event, unfortunately. So has slipped down to 10th, but to have had a drop round and still be inside that top 10 already is not a bad place to be already, as you know, we're only round 4 in.
And Norrie, I mean, a few movements in the field, but we're starting to find our way. The gap slowly going out for James Scott at the top of the table.
Yeah, it is stretching at the top, but I mean, it's quite a showing from Altus, Premier, Synergy, and Simrigs DPR to all have a driver in that top 5. Stand out for me, though, Jamie Stovall started 41st in that race at Phillip Island, but ends up being 11th in standing. So he's making a charge, and he just needs a little bit more to get quite up there in the top 10.
Yeah, I think Jordan Ross would have to get the unlucky award for the year so far. I mean, he has just not had a good run at all. Him and his teammates turned each other round too at Phillip Island. They all got together on about 10 laps before the end and spun each other out. So they were very unfortunate, and Ross involved in that again. So he's probably the unlucky one, I think, out of round 4 again, getting our unlucky prize. But let's move on to something a bit more fun. And this week, we're going to head into the simrigs.com Show Us Your Rig. And it was Mark Samuel who sent his rig in, who everyone should know from the series. And I'll tell you what, this thing has not seen daylight in a long time, I don't reckon.
He keeps it very clean. There's not an ounce of dust on it anywhere. But nonetheless, still nice looking bit of kit there.
Norrie, we were looking at these photos a bit earlier. Do you reckon that screen's actually on, or that's just a reflection of some more sticker work at the front?
See, the sticker he's put on the back of the seat, I reckon he's just got crazy with sticker work and just stick it over the screen. He doesn't use it. He's never used it. And like those gloves, they're brand new, but they look a bit like they're 10 years old. So, he's I don't even think that wheel's plugged into anything. So
I can't see a power cord. That's what I'm saying. There's no cords. There's no power cord. Looks like it's down in a basement.
There is a fancy LED light behind the screen. I don't think that's ever, I don't know why it's there. It's never on.
He's got a bit of gear there, though. I think we should go around there and have a go before the end of the season.
Absolutely.
Yep. Mark, invite us over. We'll test it out for you.
The one good thing is I do like how it's in there with the stone, because it does look like a man cave.
Absolutely. And then throw the BMX on the other side there as well. He's well set up. If the racing doesn't work out, he can get on his bike and throttle home.
Is that a flat tyre, though? Like, how long do you think it's been sitting there?
Long enough.
Probably the same time as the rig.
Oh, I tell you what, we like having a bit of fun with Mark, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from him very shortly. Let's head on to the split 2 results for round number 4 at Phillip Island, and this is how it goes. Henry Thomas Kircher came out in number 1, Chris Barnes in 2nd, Jet Johnson in 3rd. They were your podium finishers. Then it goes back to Wade Sheedy and Rick Vigor for 4 and 5, Mark Dial, Joseph Antonius for 7, Braden O'Loughlin for 8, Scott Weston for 9, Travis Lewis for 10. Then it's Thomas Foster, Jason Davis, Johnny Rowe, Rick Sibra from 11 to 14. Now, Rick Sibra finished 6 laps down. We have seen him in the main game before. Simon Heddersheed, and he was quite a few laps down, minus 15. And Jamie Kingscott, who we've seen before, it doesn't look like he got many laps done in that race at all. So that was our split 2 round 4 results. Coming here from Phillip Island. But we're done with Phillip Island now, guys, and it's time to talk about where we are heading for round number 5. And I'm excited about this one. It's Barber Motorsport Park from Alabama, USA. 150-kilometre sprint round once again. Of course, don't forget the broadcast and the qualifying will come your way for the Super Series. It starts at 9:40 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, with the main race kicking off at 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And so far to date, Dan, this is the shortest track we have been on.
It's a short track, but a very challenging track at the same time. There's a lot of circuit elevation, especially as you run down through turn 1, out around the carousel of 3. And then the big ticket item, and we're going to see a lot of passing go down through there, is turn 7, 8, and 9. It's a really tight technical sort of little roller coaster section that puts you onto the back straight before you head down through the chicane. So should be very interesting. Obviously, we are going to get a chance to have a bit of a quick look at the lap momentarily, but really looking forward to seeing what the race is going to deliver. The pit entrance is going to be a big thing to watch out for, because you enter again right on the racing line. So similar to what we saw at Brazil, could open up a bit of a tricky spot for the guys entering.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see how they come back onto turn number 1, 2 on the racing line. Like you said, another tricky pit entry and pit exit. But, Norrie, the Pure Driving School lap of Barber Motorsport Park, and this week, somehow someone let you in the pits and someone left their garage open. So who let you into who didn't lock their garage, and who let you into their car?
Well, it was the guys down at Henry James Racing, and they left the garage unlocked and left the keys in the car. And I thought, hey, the safety car is a bit boring. I'm going to try the V8, and so I jumped in the Commodore. Yes, it's a Commodore, but it is all right. And I had a spin, and here's the lap. G'day everyone, and welcome aboard the AOSC track preview for Barber Motorsport Park. Norry at the helm, and I'm going to try and show you how we get out big V8s around this tight, twisty circuit. So join me as I get around the full length of both Barber Motorsport Park. Turn 16, the final corner, as we lead on to the straight. You want to use a little bit of the curve there on the right. It's only a short, sharp run to turn 1, but you'll need everything you can. Back a couple of gears and tipping in to the left. Now this becomes uphill and the right, which is turn 2. It's the carousel. It's a long, long right hand to this one. You really got to watch your drive traction so you're not overexcited in the rear of the car and getting wheel spin. Cresting turn 4 there. You want to use a bit of curb on the left, and then you want to go back a couple of gears right down here at the hairpin. There's a big massive spider there, so you want to try and avoid that as best you can. Grab a gear mid-corner and try and minimise your wheel spin on exit as you try and minimise wheel spin over the bumps as well on the run through to the corkscrew. Bit of curb on the right, bit of curb on the left, back to first mid-corner, and then round the last bit of it there. Don't overexcite the rear wheels because that will hurt you in the long run. And then you want a short, sharp shoot back to third, and you're going to use a little bit of curve through the S's there. And this leads you into the straight that then becomes the tunnel. This is 12 and 13 through here. And a little bit of curve on the right, and save yourself a little bit of drive traction for the left curve. Coming around 14 and then on towards 15. That's your pit end exit on the left. So you want to be able to use that in mid-race. Coming around turn 16, and this is the final corner. Another short, sharp shoot up to the finish line. And that is a lap of Barber Motorsport Park.
Well, Norry, it's a lap in a Commodore, which we thought we'd never see in a Commodore before, but we got you in one. What are some of the other tricky factors to this track that people are going to have to contend with, and what are they going to have to look up when they set the suspension up and look for throughout the race and monitor?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a Commodore, but it actually goes all right. The main problem here is the pit entry. You exit off and then down the hill, and then pit entry actually starts down the hill and around the corner. So they've really got to watch their pit entry speed to make sure they don't dart off into the fence. Mainly when it comes to setting up setting up the car for the circuit, you've got the carousel, the hairpin, the corkscrew, the S's, and the tunnel, all massive undulation changes. So you've got to make sure the car gets over the bumps in the circuit really smoothly.
Yeah, the other big thing too we're going to have to keep an eye on, obviously, is the traction that the guys are going to get down out of turn 3, as I was saying, off the back of the carousel. It's going to be rather tricky, especially on the cold tyres. The other big one is going to be the rise up over turn 4 before you head down through the hairpin as well. It's a blind entry into that corner, so could see a few guys possibly find their way off in towards the guardrails over there. The other big one too is going to be right at the conclusion of the lap with the braking zone down through 14 and 15, where obviously you're considering the pit entry as well. It's very easy to carry an inside wheel and throw yourself off through that corner of the circuit. So it's going to be a tough one. The car balance is going to be really tricky. Pit stop strategy is going to be really interesting for this one because we know it's a short lap. They're not going to use a lot of fuel. They're not going to use a lot of tyre we don't expect. So for the guys right down the back of the field, if they need to get out of the way, I think similar to what we saw at Phillip Island, expect them in rather early to try that alternate strategy.
And the other thing to take into effect is really that the safety car could come out. We could get a safety car at any point throughout the race. We saw it at Phillip Island. It bunched everyone back up, and we saw a lot of incidents from that and a lot of positions, people pushed out. They got pushed off the shoulders onto the grass, lots of things like that happening. How much impact could a safety car make on this short circuit? It's 39 laps. You get a few extra laps due to the distance, but, you know, there's a lot to contend with.
Oh, it'll be huge. I mean, it's going to be, if depending on where you come into the cycle, if you haven't had your pit stop yet, you almost get a big get out of jail free card. You're not having to put anywhere near the same amount of fuel as required if it was green all the way through. But the big thing will be for the guys that do take that early pit stop, if they find themselves just about to get lapped, they're going to get a free pass to come around and going to gain a fistful of positions as a benefit for that as well.
Yeah, well, guys, it's been another big show, and we've had plenty of time to go over what is going to be Barber Motorsport Park. Don't forget, this week we will get underway at 9:40 p.m. for our qualifying and our broadcast, 9:40 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. 10 p.m. the main race will kick off. Don't forget, of course, if you haven't got to the YouTube channel already, AOSC TV, make sure you give that one a click and subscribe because you don't want to miss out anything that's happening. So the race is starting Friday, the 12th of February. Race 180 in AOSC 10. Can't wait to see what's going to come to our way from round number 5 at Barber Motorsport Park, Alabama, USA. We'll see you soon.